We've now been joined by Connor Zilisch. Justin Allgaier will join us here in just a minute as well, but I'll go ahead and start with Connor. If you have questions, go ahead and raise your hand. We'll work to get a mic to you. Who would like to kick us off? All right, John. Thank you.
John Newby, FanBuzz. I was curious, coming down to the end of the race, there's always that debate between giving up rows for, the preferred line on the bottom or moving up forward, just getting that track position. Do you kind of have a strategy in place for what you'll be looking for since you don't have to worry about, winning or pointing your way in or anything like that?
Yeah, I think it's easy for a guy who's below the cutoff and needs a win to say I'm going to line up third and just ship the guy in the lead. But I feel like I'm in a spot where I can choose second and try and race for the win. I guess the quote unquote right way. But I don't have any reason. I do want to win. I'm not here to, not try and win, and I'm not going to settle, but that doesn't mean I'm going to ship someone for it and be really aggressive to try and win the race. So I would probably line up second and try and win it the right way. I've seen guys, Eric won here from the outside, and if enough happens on the bottom and it stacks them up, you are able to roll around on the outside. So it's always a tough decision, and you almost never make the right choice, but I don't have a reason to be that aggressive this weekend.
All right, Dustin, go ahead.
Dustin Lamino, JSK, I know it's a week out, but how much preparation have you guys put towards Phoenix?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot myself. We've kind of been able to work on it for the last 3 or 4 weeks, just assuming we were going to make it. We've been doing a lot to make sure that we go back better than we were in the spring, and that we, just execute the day and make the most of it. But we haven't been outdoing ourselves in the sim, just pounding hours out for no reason. We've been making sure that everything we do is calculated, and that we're making changes for the better and not just to do it. So it's been really, really good so far, and I feel like we've gotten to a good spot, and especially for me, just preparing myself for it.
Yeah, same for us. Yeah, this works. Okay, same for us. I feel like, we've kind of stayed working on Phoenix, right? I feel like you had to really focus on a lot of these places that we've been going, but especially with Talladega as kind of in the mix, you're not going to the sim for Talladega. You're not really studying setup stuff for Talladega, right? You do study some of the racing and how to be better at that part of it, but I feel like for us, we've been lucky enough to be able to focus on what we needed to focus on and go to Phoenix. And I think it's cool for me because all 4 cars of Junior Motorsports are going back with stuff that I've run at Phoenix before, right? All the setups are derived from kind of where we've been at, and I kind of know the strengths and weaknesses of all the different options of kind of what we do as a company, and so I think that's a good thing. I'm excited to see what Phoenix looks like, right? I've been lucky enough to be good there a lot, and you find things you like, you find things that you don't like, and even when we've had days where we don't really like Phoenix, we've still run pretty well. So I'm excited to get back there. Martinsville. I'm actually more excited to get to Martinsville today to not have to race my way in. This has been the last 6 years or something has been just. You're on pins and needles whenever you get here, and to his point, you're still going for it. You're still going to go try to win the race. You still want to do all the right things, but it's so nice to come in here and know that you can just go have fun and enjoy the race for what it is. And I think it's actually more enjoyable than the spring race, because the spring race, you're still trying to lock your way into the playoffs. This time you can just go have fun.
All right, we can get a microphone to the back. We'll start with C. Yep, go, Zach, go ahead.
Zach Moore from Road to Bottom. We're back on the track where we saw maybe in the spring where we saw a lack of respect, a lack of respect for the equipment. And you guys had a meeting with NASCAR. Do you feel like that meeting was well received by the drivers? Do you feel like since then that there's been a respect on the racetrack when racing, or you feel like it hasn't really made a difference?
I'll let the veteran answer that one.
It definitely calmed things down for a while, right? I felt like the racing got a lot cleaner, a lot better. Look, in the playoffs, you're asking for you're asking for guys to put their entire season in the balance of a split-second decision, right? There's been chaos these last handful of weeks. There's going to be, right, whether it be trucks, Xfinity, Cup, it doesn't matter. You can determine an entire season by a decision that you make, right? And I thought, even watching the truck race last night, Lane was very critical of himself of having to make the decision that he made at the end, and I thought it was pretty subdued compared to what we've seen in the past, right? So there are drivers that I feel like are really doing things the right way. There's others that aren't. And listen, at the end of the day, when I walk out of here tonight or when I walk out of Phoenix next week or whatever it is, I have to be okay with how I race, and everybody else has to do the same. And I think that people are just naturally going to race differently. But one thing that I really love about junior motorsports, I would say as a whole, yes, we were part of the drama in the spring here, but the accountability, the meetings, the things that we've done within our organization, I feel like our group has done an amazing job here, especially of late, of trying to make sure that we're doing things the right way. And I can't speak for tonight, right? Anything can and will happen. I got 2 teammates that are trying to battle the other way in, right? Anything can happen. But I do feel like NASCAR's done a good job. Eric Peterson has done a really good job of trying to stay in conversation with the drivers. How do we put on the best race that we can and not go over the line, right? Because everybody, listen, the line is where the action comes from, right? You want to be on the line, just you don't want to be over the line.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add to that. I do feel like, when you sit in a room with all 36 drivers and it's just you guys in the series, and the series is like, what the heck was that? And they got on us, and I feel like it was well received. And we have a meeting today. I don't know what the basis of that is, but I'm sure it's to talk about how we raced in the spring and say, let's not do that again. But yeah, I mean, when you can make one of those moves to save your season, personally, I'm not the kind of guy that I feel like would do those things, but they're, like Justin said, there's people out there that are willing to take that risk and willing to do it and, get themselves to the next round of the championship. And at the end of the day, guys don't care whether they're deserving or not. All they care about is whether or not they're in the championship or not. So, it's very tough, but, it's just the format that we have.
It's the beauty of being locked in here. Trust me.
Yeah, I know. I've never been on the other side of it, but it's nice to be on this side of it.
All right, Steven, go ahead.
Right here. All right. Steven Toronto, CBS Sports. This will be a question for both of you. So just on the subject of what we saw in the spring and if this race comes down to that, being locked into Phoenix, how much does that free you up to, I don't want to say enjoy the fireworks, but not necessarily have to worry about, if someone does this in the last corner, it could affect me in this way or stuff like that?
I mean, my big deal, and we did this last year, even trying to race our way in points-wise, listen, you can make a lot more enemies tonight that can make next week miserable than you can the other way around, right? You spent all year and you try to, I feel like we have both tried to race with respect all year, and you make friends, right? And when you get to Phoenix, not that they're going to pull over and let you go by, but listen, somebody can make your life miserable and the way that they race you and, instead of trying to pass you, just running into you and putting you in bad positions, right? Those are all things that are natural in our sport. And we would all rather you race it out, right? And put yourself in that battle. Like we want to be 4 wide coming to the finish line with the championship 4 next week, right? That would be fantastic. But we can make our lives a lot more miserable than we can make them better, by how we race tonight. And so I think we have to put ourselves in a position to go win the race. By doing that, you're liable to be in the hornet's nest, but I think you have to do it anyways and hope that you want to be not the aggressor. You don't want to be the one that makes the headlines for the wrong reasons tonight and goes into next week, and that's all we talk about.
Yeah, I mean, reiterate, same thing he said, really. It's just you can make your position and your situation a lot worse by doing something aggressive than you can the other way around. And I feel like for us, we're in a pretty good spot where we can just let the chaos happen and then hopefully be on the benefiting end of it, where we're able to make the positions up and put ourselves in a spot to win. We're not going to be the aggressors, and there will be aggressors out there, so there's no reason to try and be that guy that moves someone for the lead. And I feel like it's just, you got to let the other people take care of themselves and be there to kind of clean up after it all happens.
10-4. Thank you, guys.
All right, we're going to go to Barry, John for a follow-up, and then we'll come up here to Reed. Go ahead.
Barry Richmond, Piedmont Broadcasting Corporation. Connor, I had a chance to follow you at VR, where I do a lot of work for them. And obviously, I've seen your seasons leading up to this season. Talk about this first full year in Xfinity, and just your critique and the expectations you went in with at the beginning of 2025.
Yeah, I really, my crew chief had me fill out a kind of a points and win prediction for the entire season, and I had myself winning 4 races. So, to walk in here today with 10 wins, winning the regular season championship, already locked into the Final Four, I certainly have outdone my expectations, and it's been really, really cool to just experience it, be a part of it, have my team with me the whole season. And we've had bad days. I've broken my collarbone. I hurt my back at Talladega. It hasn't been perfect by any means, but I certainly have learned through all of it. I've become a better driver, and more importantly, I've become a better human at JRM, and just learning how to treat people, how to build a team, how to be a leader. And I'm certainly grateful for my time I've had at JRM. I've grown a lot, and I'm really excited to carry all the things that I've learned into the Cup Series, and hopefully make my mark there.
We told him to get all he could get throughout the course of the season at the beginning of the year. We didn't expect him to get the entire life's worth of body's worth of work into one season, but he's definitely accomplished all of that and then some.
Yeah, I've
what you asked for.
yeah, I've had a life's worth of experience in 1 year.
All right, John.
John Newby Fan Buzz. So Justin, back in 22, you joked to me after a win that it felt pretty good being the old guy, beating Noah, Sam, and Josh. Since then, you'd have won 11 more races in a championship. So is that still a pretty good feeling, being the old guy getting all these wins?
It is. These young guys are definitely cutting into that territory. I mean, Connor's made it miserable this year as far as that goes. But I do think, like, it's funny for me. I look at winning the championship last year, and I've given myself plenty of gray hairs to get to this point. But I just feel like my mentality of where I stand and how I value the sport, and kind of just the opportunity, right? The wins are amazing, championships are amazing, right? All these things, all the cool stuff that we get to do with this sport is awesome. But when I step back and look at it from kind of the 10,000 foot view, that I don't feel like I maybe had like a 2,000 foot view before, right? And I never realized how short-sighted some of it was. To be able to step back and look at it from this 10,000 foot view, I'm really proud of kind of what we've accomplished. And we joked, when Connor won 100 at Indy, we laughed because in 2020 I won 50 at Richmond, right? So from the time of the inception of Junior Motorsports to 2020 was 50 wins, right? We've well surpassed that 50 just from 2020 in the last 5 years. That's incredible. I mean, that's just a testament to our team and to the men and women that put these cars together. Everybody at Chevrolet. I mean, the Hendrick Engine Shop. Like, there's so many people that are part of our process, and it's still fun. It's still like, we joke about, like, him experiencing everything in one season, but there are things that he hasn't experienced, of the heartburn of coming to Martinsville and having to try to race you into the Final Four, little stuff like that. But I don't envy that, right? Like, I would love for him to experience that, so that it helps build as he goes, and you make decisions based on how life goes, right? But at the same time, I wouldn't trade anything of what I've done to get to this point. All the days that are your worst days probably make you just as strong as the days that are your good days. And so I'm still having fun. I'm still enjoying life, and look forward to getting the racetrack every week. And I would say that in my younger years, I I didn't know how I'd feel at this age, if I was still going to be here, if I'd even have the opportunity. And so younger me is looking back and smiling and saying, yeah, we're still competitive and still able to go do it. And that makes life good.
All right, Reed.
Reed Spencer with the NASCAR Wire. You guys are both in great position being locked in before tonight. On the other hand, if either one of you wins, it could certainly help a teammate, and certainly could possibly create an all-Chevy Final Four. Does that factor into your approach to the race at all tonight?
I would say yes, of course. And, while it's not really talked about, both of us are still trying to get into the owner's title too. So both of us want A, one of us to win, or B, not a new winner.
Technically our teammates could both
our
win.
teammates are out of the
one of our
owners.
teammates
So any
could win.
JRM car winning would be, obviously any JRM car winning would be a great night. But, I feel like not a new winner in the round of 8 and one of the JRM cars would be ideal. So, that's the goal for us. It's easy to say that sitting here, but we'll do all we can to go out and try and do that and not let one of those other cars win. But at the end of the day, it's Martinsville, so anything can happen.
Yeah, and I think statistically, if you look at this race, Brandon Jones has always been great here, right? Sheldon Crean has always been great here. Sam Ayer has always been great here. Both of my teammates have always been great here, right? Jesse runs really good here when stuff doesn't go wrong. If I'm not in, I'm looking at the field going, holy cow, like every driver in the final 8 could win this race and should win this race and have the stats to back that up. So, I think that's where it becomes difficult for us, right? Is we need to do the best job we can, because ultimately one of us winning is the best answer, right? That for our standpoint, it's the best answer. From the owner's side, it's the best answer, and from the driver's side, it's the best answer. As long as our teammates can not have a bad night and one of the two or both of them stay in that Final Four. So there's a lot. That's a lot to process, and the best answer is, I don't have to worry about points. I can go race and try to win the race, and it doesn't matter where anybody else finishes in the stage or any of that. I don't even have to ask that question tonight. I can just go race, and that puts you in a way more fun situation coming into Martinsville for sure.
All right, Justin, as we quickly wrap here, Xfinity will, end their series entitlement next week as we come to Phoenix. You've obviously competed in a lot of the years under the Xfinity Series banner. Would you be willing to just to give us a few things that made that sponsorship unique and what it meant to the series? Yeah,
I think there's so many faces in this room that have lived kind of the multi-generations of Xfinity and before Xfinity. One of the things that I love is that when you think about them coming in, they came in full of excitement and really put the sport in a significantly higher profile place than what it was before. And they've invested in the drivers, they've invested in the teams, the media, the tracks. They keep putting the time and energy into making this sport great. And, obviously them sticking around and being a partner of NASCAR is still super important to me. I'm excited to see that. But it's going to be a sad day when they're not there. I think we're on logo number 4 of their tenure with NASCAR, right? I remember the first round one with the red, and we're all looking at it and you don't realize how important those moments are over time. I actually just signed a baseball card that had the old Xfinity logo, like the round one on my fire suit. And it's like, man, that wasn't that long ago, but yet it seems like ages ago. But just what they've done for this sport, it's understated, how much we appreciate them. And listen, changes happen. I'm excited to see O'Reilly's come in and be a part of our sport and do the, hopefully carry on some of the same traditions that Xfinity has. But just the time and energy that Xfinity has put in our sport. I hope you guys feel the same way we do as drivers and as teams, because it's been fun to watch. It's been fun to be a part of. And I think that makes next week more important. Maybe more so for me. Maybe not as much for a guy like Connor that
I'm going to miss my Xfinity Mobile as fast as Xfinity Mobile.
But the thing about things like that, right? You hear us say as fast as Xfinity Mobile all the time. But the buy-in from drivers wanting to help promote the company that's promoting us, right? It's and we see that a lot now with the CW, right? Like they're doing the same thing. They're carrying on a lot of the same traditions, and I think that it just creates a playbook or a guidebook for the next companies that come in and they're a part of it. And again, I'm really proud of what we've accomplished as a sport over these last 10 years and what we've been able to do, and it's been cool to be a small part of the bigger puzzle.
Well, thank you both for joining us. Best of luck this evening, even if you don't have to be as stressed as the others.
And you saw what they're doing for the final stage of Phoenix, right?
Yes.
They're inverting.
No, commercial free.
I know.
That's gonna be cool.
I wanted to see them invert it.
Yeah.
That would be more fun.
that would take a lot of money.
That would take a lot of money. But I will say though, commercial free is pretty awesome. So I saw that this week. That was really special.